The first time Matteo DeLuca touched Lena Carter, she was on her knees in a room full of people who wanted to pretend she was invisible. Red wine spread across the white marble floor like a wound. Crystal glasses trembled on the long banquet table. Gold candles flickered beneath chandeliers so large they looked stolen from a palace. Manhattan glittered outside the windows of the Grand Bellario Hotel, cold and silver under a stormy November sky. And in the center of the private dining room, Lena Carter knelt with a towel in her shaking hands while a woman in diamonds looked down at her and smiled. "Careful," Alessandra Vitale said, her voice sweet enough to rot teeth. "That marble costs more than your yearly salary." A few guests laughed. Not loudly. No one laughed loudly in a room where Matteo DeLuca sat at the head of the table. But they laughed enough. Lena kept her eyes down. She was used to being ignored. That was the first rule of surviving luxury hotels. Move silently. Smile softly. Apologize even when you had done nothing wrong. Let rich people mistake kindness for weakness, because arguing with them only gave them a better reason to ruin your life. But tonight was different. Tonight, her hands would not stop shaking. Because the wine had not spilled by accident, Lena had seen it happen. She had seen Alessandra's manicured fingers brush the base of Matteo's glass. She had seen the tiny black capsule slip from her diamond clutch and disappear beneath the table. She had seen Alessandra's cousin kick the table leg just hard enough to send the wine crashing before Matteo could drink. And now, Lena was on the floor, cleaning the evidence. "Look at her," Alessandra said, tilting her head. "She's trembling like a thief." Lena swallowed. "I'm sorry. Oh." She speaks. Alessandra leaned closer, her emerald earrings swaying. "Tell me, did you ruin my engagement dinner because you were careless, or because you wanted attention?" The room grew quieter. Across the table, men in tailored suits watched with cold eyes. Politicians, old money, lawyers, men who smiled like knives. Women wrapped in silk and diamonds, their faces polished into bored cruelty. This was not just an engagement dinner. This was a treaty dressed in candlelight. The DeLucas and the Vitalas had been enemies for 20 years. Tonight, Matteo DeLuca was supposed to announce his marriage to Alessandra Vitale and end a blood feud that had swallowed half the East Coast. That was what the newspapers would say. That was what the guests believed. Lena knew only one thing. A woman had tried to poison a man, and everyone was blaming the maid. Alessandra stepped closer, her heel stopping inches from Lena's fingers. "You readjust the maid," she said softly. So the insult felt intimate, so Neil-like one. Something inside Lena tightened. Not anger. Not yet. Anger was a luxury when you had rent due, a niece asleep at home, and a sister buried under lies no one powerful enough had cared to investigate. So Lena pressed the towel into the wine and said nothing. Then a chair moved. The sound was small, but it cut through the room like a gun being cocked. Matteo DeLuca stood. No one breathed. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black suit that seemed less worn than obeyed. His dark hair was brushed back from a face carved with quiet violence. A scar touched the corner of his left eyebrow. His hands were bare except for one heavy silver ring, stamped with the DeLuca crest. He did not look at Alessandra. He looked at Lena, not at the uniform, not at the spilled wine, at her hands, at the way her fingers shook too hard for simple embarrassment, at the way her eyes refused to rise because she had learned the cost of being seen. Matteo stepped away from the table. Alessandra's smile flickered. "Matteo, darling, don't concern yourself. The staff will handle it." He moved past her. The room watched him cross the marble floor. Lena froze when his shadow fell over her. She expected a reprimand, a cold command, maybe money tossed at her like a bandage over public humiliation. Instead, Matteo removed his coat. The air changed. He lowered himself slightly. Not kneeling, not soft, but close enough that only Lena heard the quiet warning in his voice. Stand up. Lena's breath caught. I have to clean, I said. Stand up. Her hands tightened around the soaked towel. Across the room, Alessandra gave a brittle laugh. Matteo, please. She made a mess. Matteo's eyes remained on Lena. No, he said. Someone made a mess. She was ordered to kneel in it. A silence fell so hard it seemed to press against the windows. Lena slowly rose. Her knees ached. Wine stained the front of her gray uniform. Her cheeks burned, but she forced herself not to wipe her eyes. She would not cry here. Not for them. Then Matteo stepped behind her and placed his black coat around her shoulders. It was warm, heavy, expensive. It smelled of rain, cheddar, smoke, and something darker like a storm had learned to wear cologne. Lena gripped the edges before she could stop herself. Matteo turned to the room. Apologize. No one moved. Alessandra's face went still. Excuse me, Matteo looked at her then. Only then. And whatever she saw in his eyes made her diamonds look cheap. You heard me. A man near the table shifted nervously. Matteo. Surely this is unnecessary. Matteo did not raise his voice. That made it worse. Everyone who laughed will apologize. One by one. The room lowered its eyes. A senator's wife whispered, I'm sorry. A banker cleared his throat. My apologies. A woman in pearls murmured, Forgive me. Each apology landed like something impossible. Lena stood beneath Matteo's coat, feeling the heat of him still trapped in the fabric, and tried to understand why the most feared man in the room had turned her humiliation into a trial. Alessandra did not apologize. She smiled instead, cold and trembling at the edges. How touching, she said. The great Matteo DeLuca defending hotel staff. Should I be jealous? Matteo's expression did not change. You should be careful. The words were quiet. The threat was not. Lena looked down and saw, near the table leg, the tiny black capsule half hidden beneath a smear of wine, and Matteo saw her see it. For one breath, their eyes met. His gaze sharpened. Hers warned him without words. Do not drink anything. Do not trust her. Do not let them know I saw. Matteo's jaw tightened. Then the doors of the private dining room opened, and the hotel manager rushed in with a face already prepared to blame the lowest paid person present. Miss Carter, he snapped. Step outside immediately. Lena's stomach dropped. Matteo turned. The manager stopped breathing. She leaves, Matteo said. When I say she leaves, Alessandra's smile returned. Softer and more dangerous. Let her go. Matteo, unless you intend to keep the maid as part of the engagement gift. That got a few nervous laughs. Matteo glanced at the soaked floor. The guests. The capsule. Then at Lena. He seemed to make a decision he hated. Go, he said quietly. Take the coat. I can't take your coat. You can. It's yours. His eyes dropped briefly to her fingers clutching the fabric. Not anymore. Lena should have given it back. She should have lowered her head, escaped the room, forgotten what she had seen, and prayed powerful people had short memories. But as she passed Alessandra, the woman leaned close enough for her perfume to sting. You'll regret embarrassing me, Alessandra whispered. Lena stopped. For the first time that night, she looked directly at her. No, Lena said softly. I think you will. Then she walked out wearing the Mafia boss-esque coat, and behind her, the room exploded into whispers. By midnight, Lena Carter had lost her job. Her employee locker had been emptied into a trash bag, and a video of Matteo DeLuca wrapping his coat around her shoulders had been watched over 2 million times. The internet called it romantic. The hotel called it a scandal. Lena called it disaster. She sat on the curb behind the Grand Bellario in the cold drizzle. The black coat folded over her lap like evidence from a crime scene. Her uniform was still stained. Her tights were wet at the knees. Her phone buzzed nonstop with unknown numbers. Blocked accounts, messages from coworkers, and one missed call from her neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, who was watching Lena's 7-year-old niece. Lily. Lily could not see that video. No child needed to watch the woman raising her kneel in front of monsters. Lena pressed her fingers to her eyes. She had not cried upstairs. She would not cry now. A black SUV pulled into the alley without headlights. Lena stood quickly. The rear door opened. A man stepped out first. Huge. Silent. One hand inside his coat. Then Matteo DeLuca emerged into the rain. Without his coat, he looked even more dangerous. Black dress shirt. Rolled sleeves. Tattoos slipping down one forearm like dark branches. His face was calm, but his eyes moved over the alley. The cameras. The fire escape. The shadows. Only after he had measured every threat did he look at Lena. You were difficult to find. I wasn't hiding. No, his gaze flicked to the trash bag by her feet. You were fired. I was blamed. There's a difference to people like you, usually not. One of his bodyguards shifted. Matteo lifted one hand slightly. The man went still. Lena's pulse thudded. She should have been afraid. She was afraid. But humiliation had burned through enough of her fear to leave something sharper behind. Matteo stepped closer. Did you see what was under the table? Lena said nothing. That is not a question you want to ignore. I saw spilled wine. His eyes narrowed. And a room full of cowards. A faint shadow moved at the corner of his mouth. Not a smile. Something colder. You have a dangerous mouth for a woman sitting alone in an alley. You have a dangerous family for a man pretending he was surprised tonight. The bodyguards looked at her like she had just stepped off a roof. Matteo started. Rain gathered in his hair, on his lashes, on the sharp line of his jaw. You know who I am, he asked. Everyone in that room did. That wasn't my question. Lena tightened her grip on the coat. I know enough. No. You know rumors. I know men with your last name. Don't protect maids unless there's a reason. Matteo moved closer until the alley felt too small. There was a reason. Her breath caught. What? His eyes lowered to the coat in her hands. You were shaking before she insulted you. Lena's throat closed. He had noticed. Of course he had. A man like Matteo DeLuca survived by noticing the small things people prayed he would miss. He reached into his pocket and held out a phone. On the screen was a paused image from the dining room security camera, Alessandra's hand near the glass. Lena's face turned slightly. The capsule falling. You saw this, he said. Lena looked away. His voice dropped. And now she knows you saw it. The alley seemed to tilt. Lena thought of Lily asleep under the quilt with yellow ducks. Lily, who still asked when her mother was coming back, even though Lena had stopped knowing how to answer. I don't want trouble, Lena said. Trouble already has your name. I'm not testifying against your fiancée. She is my fiancée. Lena blinked. Matteo's face remained unreadable. Then what was tonight? A trap. The rain grew harder, tapping against the dumpster lid, the SUV roof, the old brick walls. Lena hated that part of her, wanted to ask more. Hated that his voice was so controlled, so darkly certain. that it made danger sound like a room with a locked door and him holding the key. "I'm going home," she said. "No." The word hit like a hand on glass. Lena lifted her chin. "Excuse me, you're coming with me." She laughed once. Humorless. "Absolutely not. Alessandra Vitale tried to poison me in a room full of witnesses. She used you as cover. She will either buy you, threaten you, or bury you before sunrise. Then call the police." Matteo looked at her for a long second. The police commissioner was sitting 3 seats from her father. Lena said nothing. The alley felt colder. He took another step. "I can protect you." "What?" "I didn't ask you to." "No, but you wore my coat in front of every enemy I have. You put it on me, and that made you visible." Lena's hands tightened. "So this is my fault." His expression hardened. "No, it is mine." The answer stunned her into silence. For the first time, something human slipped beneath his controlled face. Not softness. Guilt. It vanished quickly. "Come with me tonight," he said. 24 hours. Until I know how far this has spread. I have someone waiting for me." His eyes sharpened. "A husband, no. A boyfriend, no." The questions irritated her more than they should have. "A child," she said. Matteo went very still. Lena cursed herself. His voice changed. Lower. More dangerous. "Yours, my niece." The words seemed to unlock something in his face. Not pity. Recognition. "She lives with you, yes." "Name." "No." A flicker of approval crossed his eyes. "Good." Lena swallowed. "I need to get home to her." "You will." He looked at one of his men, Enzo. The bodyguard stepped forward. 2 cars. One to Miss Carter's apartment. New sirens. No scene. "Bring the child and whoever is watching her to the safe house." Lena's blood went hot. "No, you are not sending men to my home." Matteo looked back at her. "They will not touch her. You don't understand. She's 7. She's already lost enough." Something moved in his eyes at that. A wound recognizing another wound. "Then you come with me?" he said. Quieter, "And I swear to you." Lena Carter. "No one gets near that child without going through me." It was the first time he said her name. It should not have affected her. It did. Not because it was tender. It wasn't. It sounded like a vow made in a cathedral after the doors had been locked. A phone buzzed in Matteo's hand. He glanced down. His face went colder. He turned the screen toward her. A message from an unknown number. The photo showed Lily leaving Lena's apartment building that morning in her little red coat. Below it were 5 words. The maid should stay quiet. Lena's knees almost gave. Matteo caught her before she fell. His hand closed around her elbow. Firm. Steady. Warm through the damp fabric. She pulled back on instinct. He released her immediately. But his eyes had changed. All restraint vanished from them. "Get in the car," he said. This time, Lena did not argue. The DeLuca safe house was not a house. It was a fortress disguised as a mansion on a private road overlooking the Hudson. All dark glass, stone walls, iron gates, and men with earpieces who watched the rain like it might start shooting. Lena hated it immediately. Not because it was ugly, because it was beautiful. Because beautiful places had always been where people like Alessandra were cruelest. Mrs. Alvarez arrived 20 minutes after Lena, terrified but unharmed, holding Lily's hand. The moment Lily saw Lena, she ran. Aunt Lena dropped to her knees and pulled the child into her arms. For one dizzy second, she forgot Matteo. The guards, the marble dinner room, the poison. The video. All of it. She held Lily so tightly the little girl squeaked. You scared me, Lily whispered. I know. Baby. I'm sorry. Why are we at a castle? Lena forced a smile. Because some grown-ups made a mess. Lily looked over Lena's shoulder. Matteo stood in the doorway, silent as a shadow. Is he the king? Lily asked. Lena closed her eyes. Behind her, one of the guards coughed like he was choking. Matteo did not smile, but he crouched slightly. Not too close. Not forcing the child to look up too far. No, he said. I am not a king. Lily studied him. You look like the bad guy in movies. Lily, Lena warned. Matteo's gaze flicked to Lena. Then back to the child. She has good instincts. Lily tilted her head. Are you? Matteo answered without hesitation. To some people. Lena felt a chill. Lily considered this, then asked, Are you bad to Aunt Lena? The entire room seemed to wait. Matteo looked at Lena. His voice, when he spoke, was quiet. No. Lily nodded like this, settled the matter. Then I'm hungry. For the first time all night. Lena almost laughed. Matteo stood and looked at Enzo. Feed the child. The kitchen awakened like an army had received orders. Within minutes, Lily sat at a marble island eating pancakes at 1 a.m, while Mrs. Alvarez drank tea with trembling hands, and 3 armed men pretended not to be charmed by a child, explaining the difference between unicorns and horses. Lena stepped into the hallway to breathe. Matteo followed. She felt him before she saw him. You should sleep, he said. You should stop telling me what to do. I want, at least you be honest. His eyes moved over her face. Yuri still wearing my coat? Lena looked down. She had forgotten. The coat hung around her shoulders. Too large. Too warm. Making her look like she belonged to someone. She pulled it off quickly and held it out. Matteo did not take it. I don't want it back. I don't want it back. I don't want to keep it. You don't want to owe me. No. You don't too. The answer surprised her. He stepped closer. Close enough that she could see the faint bruise forming near his knuckles. The tiredness beneath his eyes. I put that coat on you in front of people who kill over symbolism, he said. That was not protection. Not completely. It was a claim. Lena's heart slammed once. A claim. In my world, it means anyone who touches you answers to me. I am not property. His gaze sharpened. I know. Do you? Yes? The word was immediate. Hard. For a moment. Neither of them moved. Rain slid down the glass wall beside them. Beyond it, black SUVs waited in the driveway, their headlights off, engines running like sleeping beasts. You said the engagement was a trap, Lena said. Matteo's face closed. Not your concern. It became my concern when your fake fiancé threatened my niece. His jaw flexed. She will regret that. The way he said it should have frightened Lena more than it did. Maybe it did frighten her. Maybe the frightening part was that some hidden, exhausted piece of her wanted him to mean it. Why, Alessandra? Lena asked. Why pretend to marry someone like her because her father helped murder mine? The hallway went silent. Matteo looked away, through the rain-dark glass. For 12 years, the Vitalis smiled at my table while hiding the man who ordered the hit. Tonight was supposed to draw him out. Alessandra was supposed to believe I trusted her enough to marry her. Instead, she tried to poison me early. Why? Because someone warned her I knew. Lena thought of the capsule, the kick table. The way Alessandra had smiled like the humiliation was the performance, not the cover. She was going to make me clean it up, Lena whispered. The capsule. Yes. And when they searched the room later, they would find traces on your towel, your gloves, maybe your locker. A desperate maid, angry, humiliated, paid by a rival family. Lena's stomach turned. She was going to frame me for killing you. Matteo looked at her. Yes. The word fell between them like a stone dropped into deep water. Lena wrapped her arms around herself. I don't understand people like that. I do. That isn't comforting. It shouldn't be. She looked at him then. Really looked. This man was not a savior. He was not a gentle hero in a dark suit. He was violence under discipline, power under skin. A man who could order death in the same calm voice. He used to order pancakes for a child. And yet he had seen her shaking hands. He had made a room apologize. He had sent men for Lily and told the truth when a lie would have been easier. That was the problem with dangerous men. Sometimes. They made safety look like surrender. Lena stepped back. I'll stay until morning. Matteo's eyes held hers. You'll stay until it's safe. No. I'll stay until morning. A faint tension entered his mouth. You argue like you have options. I argue because I have dignity. He went still. The words hit something in him. Then he gave a slow nod. Morning, he said. Lena did not believe him. But she wanted to. That was the second mistake. Be damned. The video had become a national scandal. Mafia boss shames fiancée. Defends hotel maid. Who is the woman in Matteo DeLuca's coat? DeLuca Vitali engagement dinner ends in humiliation. Lena watched the headlines from a guest room bigger than her entire apartment. Lily slept in the next room under silk blankets. One hand wrapped around the stuffed rabbit she took everywhere. Mrs. Alvarez had finally stopped shaking. Lena had not slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Alessandra's smile. At 6:30, Matteo entered without knocking. Lena grabbed the nearest lamp. He stopped, glanced at it, then at hair. You plan to kill me with Italian ceramic. You plan to enter women's rooms like a ghost. My house. My room. Pause. Then Matteo stepped back into the hall and knocked once on the open door. Lena hated that she almost smiled. Almost what she asked. He held out a folder. The hotel released a statement saying you were dismissed for misconduct. The almost smile died. Lena took the folder. Inside were printed screenshots of messages, comments, news posts, her name, her face, people calling her a clumsy maid, a gold digger. Matteo's mistress, a plant, a liar. Her chest tightened. I didn't do anything. I know. My niece goes to school. People will see this. I know. You keep saying that like it fixes anything. It doesn't. She looked up. Matteo's face was unreadable, but something in his eyes remained sharp, focused. I can stop the hotel, he said. With threats, with ownership. Lena blinked. You own the Grand Bellario. 40%. Of course you do. I can force them to retract the statement. And then what? Everyone believes the mafia boss bullied a hotel into protecting his new toy. The words slipped out bitterly. Matteo's expression darkened. Do not call yourself that. I'm repeating what they'll say. Then let them say it where I can hear. The possessiveness in his voice crawled under her skin. Not soft. Not romantic. Dangerous. Lena looked away first. I need to go home. No. Matteo. Her use of his name stopped them both. His eyes changed. Just slightly. She wished she could take it back. My apartment has Lily's school things. My sister's documents. Everything I own. His gaze sharpened. Your sister? Lena shut the folder. No. You said she disappeared. I didn't say that. You look like someone who has lost more than a job. Her throat tightened. For a moment, she wanted to tell him. About Clara. About the phone call 3 years ago. About her sister's shaking voice saying, Lena, if anything happens, take Lily and don't trust anyone connected to the Vitalis. About the police report that called Clara Carter unstable. About the body found in the river 2 months later. Too damaged for Lena to say goodbye to properly. About Lily asking why her mother's voice was only in old videos now. Instead, Lena lifted her chin. My family is not your business. Matteo watched her with a stillness that felt more intimate than touch. Everything Alessandra threatens becomes my business. Before Lena could respond, Enzo appeared at the door. His face was grim. We found something at her apartment. Lena's blood went cold. Matteo did not look away from her. What Enzo held up a small evidence bag. Inside was a hotel key card and a photograph. Lena stepped closer. The photograph showed Clara, her sister, alive, standing outside the Grand Bellario Hotel 3 years earlier, wearing the same maid uniform Lena wore now. On the back, written in black marker, were 3 words. She knew too. Lena stopped breathing. Matteo took the bag from Enzo slowly. His eyes moved from the photograph to Lena's face. You said your sister's name was Carter. Lena could barely hear him over the blood roaring in her ears. Clara Carter. The room changed. Not visibly, but Matteo changed inside it. His expression became something carved out of violence. I knew her. Lena's heart cracked against her ribs. What did you say? Matteo's voice was low. She worked one night as temporary staff at a Vitali fundraiser. She disappeared the next day. You knew. I didn't know she was your sister. But you knew she disappeared. His silence answered. The betrayal hit so fast Lena stepped back. You knew and did nothing. I looked. You read Matteo DeLuca. When you look for people, cities move. I was 26 and fighting to keep my family alive. That's your excuse, his eyes flashed. No, it is my failure. The honesty did not soften the pain. Lena's hands shook again, but this time with rage. My sister died because of people in your world. Yes, and now my niece is being hunted because of a dinner you used as bait. Yes, she slapped him. The sound cracked through the room. Enzo moved. Matteo raised one hand, stopping him. Slowly, Matteo turned his face back to her. There was a red mark across his cheek. He did not look angry. That was worse. He looked like he had accepted the blow as something deserved. Lena's eyes burned. I want to leave. No. Her voice broke. Don't you dare. I will let you hate me safely. I don't need your permission to hate you. No, he said. But you need my walls tonight. They stared at each other. Everything between them had shifted. The code, the apology, the strange trust beginning to form. Now there was Clara's ghost standing between them. Lena looked at the photograph again. Her sister had been alive in that image. Young, tired, scared, trying to smile anyway. What did she know? Lena whispered. Matteo looked down at the photograph. The same thing you saw last night. The Vitalis were poisoning negotiations, killing men at tables and calling it heart failure. Clara found payment records. She tried to warn someone. Who? His eyes returned to hers. My father. The air left Lena's lungs. Did she? Yes. And my father died 2 days later. Lena's rage faltered. Matteo's voice roughened for the first time. Your sister tried to save him. My family buried him before I understood why. Outside the window, morning spread pale and cold over the river. Lena covered her mouth. For 3 years, Clara's death had been a locked room in Lena's heart. Now Matteo had opened it with one photograph, and inside was not only grief, it was war. Alessandra Vitali arrived at the DeLuca mansion at noon with a television crew, 6 lawyers, and a diamond engagement ring still flashing on her finger. Matteo watched from the upstairs window as black cars filled the driveway. "She's bold," Lena said behind him. "She's desperate." Lena stood near the curtains wearing borrowed clothes, dark jeans, a cream sweater, her hair tied back, her face pale from too little sleep. Matteo had ordered breakfast. She had not touched it. He disliked how much that bothered him. He disliked many things since the night before. The quiet absence of his coat from his shoulders, the red mark her hand had left on his cheek, the way Lily had fallen asleep on the couch clutching his jacket sleeve because she thought the house was too big, the way Lena Carter looked at him like he was both danger and answer. He had spent 12 years learning to feel nothing before making decisions. Lena had destroyed that discipline in one night. Below, Alessandra stepped out of her car wearing white, as if innocence were a costume she could afford. "She wants the cameras to see her forgiving me," Matteo said. Lena's eyes narrowed. "For protecting the maid. For humiliating a Vitali. What will you do? Invite her in?" Lena turned to him. "Are you insane?" "Yes." That almost pulled a laugh from her. Almost. Matteo wanted to laugh. The realization disturbed him more than the armed men at his gate. "I need her comfortable," he said. "Comfortable people make mistakes. And what am I supposed to do? Stay upstairs?" "No." His eyes cut to hers. "Lena. She framed me. She threatened Lily. She knew my sister." Lena stepped closer. "I am done kneeling while rich monsters decide what my life is worth." The words entered him like a blade. He should have told her no. He should have locked her behind 4 guards and bulletproof glass. Instead, he studied her face and saw the same thing he had seen in the dining room. Trembling hands. Unbroken spine. "Fine," he said. She blinked. "Fine, you stand beside me." "That wasn't what I asked." "It is what I am allowing." Allowing his mouth tightened. "Do not push me when I am already going against every instinct I have. Your instincts involve kidnapping and commands. They also kept you alive last night." She stepped nearer. Too near. Close enough for him to see the pulse at her throat. "I don't belong to you." Matteo. His gaze dropped there, to the fragile beat beneath her skin. "No," he said, "but I am beginning to belong to you. And that is far more dangerous." The words escaped before he could bury them. Lena went still. So did he. For 1 second, the mansion, the cameras, Alessandra, the war, all of it faded beneath the silence between them. Then Enzo knocked. They were at the door. Matteo turned away first. Because if he looked at Lena any longer, he would touch her. And if he touched her, he was not certain he would stop. Alessandra entered the DeLuca mansion like she expected applause. She got armed silence. Her father, Cesare Vitale, followed behind her, silver-haired, elegant, smiling with dead eyes. He was the kind of man who could order a murder over dessert and complain if the espresso was cold. "Matteo," Alessandra said, opening her arms. "My love." Lena stood beside Matteo at the foot of the grand staircase. Alessandra saw her and stopped. The smile remained. The eyes turned poisonous. "Oh," Alessandra said. "You kept her." Matteo's voice was calm. "Careful." Cesare's gaze moved over Lena with polite disgust. "This little misunderstanding has become very public," he said. "We should settle it like family." "We are not family yet," Matteo replied. Alessandra lifted her hand, showing the ring. "Don't be dramatic." Lena looked at the ring. Something about it tugged at her memory. A square-cut, Diamond. Um. Platinum band. Tiny blue stones hidden beneath the center setting. She had seen a ring like that before. In Clara's old shoebox of documents, a blurry photograph, a receipt. Her sister had circled the name of the jeweler. Vitali Private Collection. Lena's breathing changed. Matteo noticed immediately what he asked under his breath. Lena leaned closer, barely moving her lips. My sister had a picture of that ring. Matteo's eyes sharpened. Alessandra watched the whisper with hatred. How intimate, she said. Should I give you too privacy? Or is the maid included in all DeLuca business? Now, Lena looked at her. No, just the business involving murdered women. The room froze. Cesare's smile vanished. Matteo did not move, but the men behind him shifted like wolves catching scent. Alessandra laughed too quickly. What a vulgar accusation. Lena stepped forward. She was afraid. Matteo saw it, but she moved anyway. My sister Lena Carter worked one of your fundraisers 3 years ago. She disappeared after finding something she shouldn't have. You knew her. Alessandra's face stayed perfect. Only her hand betrayed her. Her fingers closed around the ring. I don't remember Staff. Funny, Lena said. Staff remembers everything. Matteo's gaze flicked to her. There it was again. That dangerous mouth. That impossible courage. Cesare spoke softly. Control your witness. Matteo. Matteo's eyes went cold. She is not my witness. Alessandra smiled. No, then what is she? Lena waited. So did everyone? Matteo could have said employee, guest, protected civilian. Instead, he stepped closer to Lena, not touching her, but close enough to make the answer clear. Mine to protect. The words detonated silently. Alessandra's face changed. Not heartbreak. Humiliation. The same humiliation she had tried to pour over Lena on the marble floor. You would insult me, Alessandra whispered. For this, Matteo's voice stayed even. I would start a war for less. Cesare lifted one hand. Outside, a sharp crack split the air. Glass exploded from the front window. Matteo moved before Lena could scream. He grabbed her and drove her behind the staircase as gunfire tore through the foyer. Men shouted. Women screamed. Cameras crashed to the floor. Marble shattered. The chandelier above trembled as bullets ripped through plaster. Matteo covered Lena with his body. One arm locked around her, his breath hot against her hair. Stay down. Lena's ears rung. Her hands clutched his shirt. Across the foyer, Alessandra had vanished behind her father's guards. Of course, the interview had been bait. Lena looked toward the hallway. Lily, she gasped. Matteo's arm tightened. She's in the East Wing. They know she exists. His face changed. A second later, a guard shouted from upstairs. East Wing breach. Matteo became something else. Not man. Weapon. He pulled Lena to Enzo. Take her to the vault. No. Lena screamed. Lily. Matteo grabbed her face in both hands. It was the first time he touched her that way. Firm. Desperate. Almost shaking. Listen to me, he said. I will bring her back. You don't know that. His eyes burned into hers. I do. Matteo, I swear on my father's grave and your sister's name. The vow struck through her panic. Then he was gone. Moving through smoke and shattered glass with a gun in his hand and murder in his silence. Lena tried to follow. Enzo caught her. She fought him with everything she had. But the last thing she saw before he pulled her through a hidden door was Matteo disappearing into the east corridor, where Lily had been sleeping. And for the first time since she met him, Lena prayed for the Mafia boss to be exactly as dangerous as everyone said. The vault beneath the mansion was not filled with gold. It was filled with secrets. Steel walls, security monitors, locked cabinets, emergency weapons, old photographs, ledgers, DeLuca history preserved behind glass and shadow. Lena paced like an animal in a cage. Above them, the gunfire had stopped. That made it worse. Silence had teeth. Misses. Alvarez sat in a chair, praying in Spanish. Two guards stood by the door. Enzo watched the monitors with a clenched jaw. Lena's eyes searched every screen. Where is she? Matteo will get her. Enzo said, You don't know that. I know him. That's not the same. Enzo looked at her then. For the first time, his voice softened. When Matteo was 19, his little sister was taken by the Vitalis for 6 hours. He found her himself. He carried her home barefoot through snow. After that, he stopped being a boy. Lena starred. What happened to her? Enzo looked back at the monitors. She lived, but something in him didn't. The words settled in the cold air. Suddenly, Lena understood the way Matteo had looked at Lily, the way his voice had changed when he saw the threatening photo. The obsession was not romance then. Not yet. It was recognition. A child used as leverage. A helpless person turned into a weapon. A wound he knew too well. One monitor flickered. Lena froze. The screen showed the east corridor. Matteo appeared through smoke, carrying Lily in his arms. Blood streaked his temple. But Lily was alive, crying into his shoulder. Her red coat clutched in one fist. Lena sobbed once before she could stop herself. The vault door opened 2 minutes later. Lily ran to her. Lena dropped to the floor and caught her. Aunt Lena. The loud men came. Lily cried, Mister. Matteo told me to close my eyes. Lena held her and looked up. Matteo stood at the doorway, breathing hard. Shirt torn at the shoulder. Gun lowered at his side. Their eyes met. Everything changed again. Not softly. Not neatly. Something inside Lena reached toward him before her pride could stop it. Because he had brought Lily back. Because he had kept his vow. Because he looked like a man who had walked through hell and was angry it had not burned him fast enough. Thank you, Lena whispered. Matteo's face tightened like the words hurt. Then he turned away. Enzo locked down the city. His voice was ice again. But Lena had seen the blood on his temple. She stood, handing Lily to Mrs. Alvarez. You re-hurt. Fine. You re-bleeding. I said I'm fine. And I said, you re-bleeding? The guard stared at her. No one spoke to Matteo that way. Lena walked to him anyway. He watched her approach with dark, unreadable eyes. You need stitches, she said. I've had worse. I'm sure that made you very charming. A flicker moved in his eyes. She reached toward his temple. He caught her wrist before she touched him. Not hard, but fast. Dangerous reflex. Their faces were close now. Too close. The vault seemed to disappear around them. I have blood on me, he said quietly. I can see that. You should take your niece and stay away from me. That would be easier if people weren't trying to kill us. I mean after. Lena's pulse stumbled. After, a word with too much room inside it. She looked at his hand around her wrist. His thumb rested over her pulse. He felt it jump. So did she. Let go, she whispered. He did. Immediately. But his gaze stayed on her wrist like letting go had cost him something. The attack turned Manhattan into a battlefield no one could see. By evening, 3 Vitali warehouses had burned. 2 DeLuca men were dead. The news called it organized crime tension. Politicians called for calm. The police found nothing. The city pretended not to know why black SUVs moved through rain-slick streets in silent convoys. Inside the safe house, Lena found Clara's old documents laid across Matteo's office desk. Receipts, photos, transfer records, names, and the ring. Matteo had taken it from Alessandra's dressing room years earlier, copied its design, traced the stones. The hidden blue sapphires beneath the diamond were not decorative. They were a signal, a mark used by Cesare Vitale to identify accounts, brides, alliance, and women he believed belonged to his family's strategy. Clara had found records linking the ring to shell companies. Then she died. Lena stood over the papers, trembling with a grief too old to be fresh and too fresh to be old. Matteo stood across from her. "I should have found this sooner," he said. Yes. He accepted the word. No defense, no excuse. That made it harder to hate him. "She left Lily with me the night before she disappeared," Lena said. "She said she had proof that could protect us. I thought she was paranoid. I was angry at her for scaring me." Her voice broke. "I told her she needed help." Matteo's eyes darkened. "That was the last thing I said to her." Lena covered her mouth. For 3 years, guilt had lived inside her like a second heart. Matteo came around the desk. Slowly, carefully, as if approaching a wounded animal that might still bite. He stopped close, but not touching. "Lena." She shook her head. "No. Don't make it better. I can't." "Good." A tear slipped down her cheek. Matteo watched it fall like it offended him personally. His hand lifted, stopped, lowered. The restraint hurt more than touch. "I know what it is to replay the last words," he said. "To think grief is a courtroom and you can convict yourself into bringing someone back." Lena looked at him. The monster had a wound. She had known it. But seeing it was different. "What were your last words to your father?" she asked. Matteo's face went still. Then, quietly, "I told him he was weak for wanting peace." The room fell silent. "He died trying to make it," Matteo said. "I became everything he hoped I wouldn't." Lena should have looked away. She didn't. "You protected Lily. I killed men in front of her door. You brought her back." His eyes met hers. Something raw moved between them. He stepped closer. Lena did not step back. The rain tapped against the windows. The office smelled of smoke, paper, leather, and blood drying on Matteo's collar. His hand lifted again. Slower this time. He brushed the tear from her cheek with his thumb. One touch. Barely anything. It shook them both. Lena closed her eyes. Matteo inhaled sharply, as if restraint had become pain. Then a phone rang. They separated like the room had caught fire. Matteo answered. His expression changed. He put it on speaker. Alessandra's voice filled the office. "Did the child enjoy the excitement?" Lena went cold. Matteo's face became deathly calm. "You missed your chance." Alessandra laughed softly. "No, I changed the game." "What do you want? The maid?" "Alone. Midnight. St. Aurelia S. Church." Matteo's eyes flicked to Lena. Alessandra continued. "Bring her. Or I release the documents proving Clara Carter sold your father to us." Lena went still. Matteo's voice dropped. "That is a lie?" "Is it?" Alessandra poured. "Lena doesn't know that. She has spent 3 years worshiping a dead sister. What if Clara wasn't a martyr? What if she was paid?" Lena's breath came shallow. Matteo ended the call. Silence crushed the room. Lena stared at the papers on the desk. "No," Matteo said. "You don't know." "I know. You didn't know she was my sister." "That is different." Lena stepped away from him. The old guilt twisted into something uglier. What if Clara made a mistake? What if she took money because she was scared? What if Lena? What if everything I believed about her is wrong? Matteo moved toward her. She backed away. His face hardened with pain he refused to show. She wants to separate us. There is no us. The lie hurt them both. Matteo stopped. His voice became quiet. Controlled. Do not go where I cannot protect you. I need the truth. I will get it. No. You'll decide what I'm allowed to know. His jaw tightened. Because I know what truth does when enemies use it as bait. Lena's eyes burned. And I know what powerful men do when they think ordinary women can survive the truth. That struck him. For a moment, he looked almost helpless. Then the mask returned. You are not leaving this house. The words broke something fragile. Lena stared at him. There he is. Matteo's face darkened. The monster, the man who thinks protection and control are the same thing. He stepped close. Anger and fear warring in his eyes. If controlling the door keeps you breathing, I will control the door. And if I hate you for it, his voice dropped to something almost unbearable. Then hate me alive. Lena had no answer. Because beneath the command, unquote, unquote, she heard the fear. Not fear of dying, fear of losing her. That was when she knew Matteo DeLuca was no longer protecting a witness. He was protecting the woman he was beginning to need. And men like Matteo did not need gently. They needed like fire, needed oxygen. Ad unsprzycie patrzyć doipo. Lena escaped. Not because Matteo's security was weak, because Lily was clever. The child had spent all day listening, watching, asking innocent questions no one thought to guard against. She knew which hallway led to the kitchen, which guard liked strawberry jam, which door beeped before it locked, which laundry chute dropped near the garage. Lena hated using that knowledge. She hated more that she had no choice. She left Lily with Mrs. Alvarez, kissed her forehead, and whispered, I'm going to bring your mother home in the only way I can. By midnight, Lena stood in front of St. P. Aurelia's church in the rain wearing Matteo's black coat over her sweater. She told herself it was for warmth. That was another lie. The church was abandoned. Its stained glass broken. Its stone steps slick with rain. Once, it had been beautiful. Now it looked like a place where prayers went after people, stopped believing in them. The doors opened. Alessandra waited inside wearing a red dress beneath a white fur coat, a bride dressed as blood and snow. How poetic, Alessandra said. You came wearing his coat. Lena stepped into the candlelit nave. Where are the documents? Alessandra smiled. Still pretending this is about your sister, it is. No, it's about him. Lena said nothing. Alessandra walked slowly down the aisle. You think Matteo sees you. He sees a wound. Men like him love wounds. They can press on them and call it intimacy. You don't know anything about intimacy. I know power. You know performance. Alessandra's smile tightened. From the shadows, two men appeared. Lena's heart kicked. She had expected a trap. Expecting it did not make it less terrifying. One man held a tablet. On the screen was a video. Clara. Lena's knees almost failed. Her sister sat in a dim room. Face bruised. Eyes swollen from crying. I took the money, Clara said in the video. Voice shaking. I gave Lorenzo DeLuca S schedule to Cesare Vitali. I'm sorry. Lena's world cracked. Alessandra watched her with pleasure. There, she whispered. Truth. Lena stared at the screen. Clara's voice. Clara's face. Clara's shame. But something was wrong. Lena forced herself to breathe. Her sister's right hand was visible on the table. Clara always twisted her wedding band when nervous, even after her husband left. In the video, her hand lay still, too still, and on her wrist was the small silver bracelet Lena had given her. The clasp was on the wrong side. The video was mirrored. No, not mirrored. Manipulated. Lena looked closer. There was no scar near Clara's thumb. The scar she had gotten opening a soup can when they were teenagers. The woman in the video looked like Clara, but she was not Clara. Lena lifted her eyes. You used a double. Alessandra's smile faded. Lena's fear turned sharp. You couldn't break my sister. Could you? That's why you killed her. Alessandra's face changed. Just for 1 second. Enough. Lena knew. Clara had not betrayed anyone. She had died refusing. Lena smiled through tears. Thank you. Alessandra stepped forward. For what? For showing me my sister was braver than all of you. Alessandra slapped her. Lena's head turned with the force. The men moved in. Then the church doors exploded inward. Wind and rain stormed through the nave. Matteo DeLuca stood in the doorway with a gun in one hand, blood on his collar, and hell in his eyes. Behind him, black-clad DeLuca men filled the entrance. Alessandra whirled. Matteo's gaze found Lena first, saw the red mark on her cheek. Something ancient and violent crossed his face. Touch her again, he said softly, and I will forget every rule my father taught me. Alessandra laughed. But it shook. You followed her. Matteo walked down the aisle. No. Lena looked at him. His eyes did not leave hers. I trusted her. The words hit harder than any rescue. Not controlled. Not captured. Trusted. Matteo stopped beside Lena. He did not grab her. Did not pull her behind him. He stood with her. That difference nearly broke her. Cesare Vitali emerged from behind the altar, holding a gun. Enough. Matteo turned slowly. The old man smiled. You are your father's son after all. Always sentimental at the worst moment. Matteo's face emptied. Lena felt the air change. You killed him, Matteo said. Cesare shrugged. He wanted peace. Peace is for men without ambition. And Clara Carter, a maid who opened the wrong ledger. Lena's breath stopped. There it was. The confession. Matteo's gaze flicked upward. A tiny red light blinked near the cracked statue of Saint Aurelia. Hidden camera. Lena almost laughed. The trap had turned. Matteo had let her come because he knew Alessandra would talk. Because he trusted Lena to survive the truth long enough to expose it. Cesare saw Matteo's eyes shift. Realization came too late. Gunfire erupted. Matteo moved Lena behind a stone column as bullets tore through old pews. Wood splintered. Candles fell. Rain blew through the open doors, whipping flame and smoke through the church. Lena pressed her back to the cold stone. Heart hammering. Matteo fired with terrifying calm. Not wild, not cruel, precisi. Every movement controlled, every breath measured. A bullet struck the column near Lena's head. Matteo's arm came around her, shielding her with his body. She felt him flinch. Matteo, infine, you re-hit. I said I'm fine. You always say that. He looked down at her then, in the middle of gunfire. And for one insane second, the corner of his mouth curved. Still arguing, still bleeding. His eyes softened in a way that frightened her more than the bullets. Then Alessandra screamed. She was running toward the side exit with the tablet. The proof. Lena saw her before Matteo did. She moved. Lena Matteo's voice cracked behind her. She chased Alessandra through the side chapel, slipping on rainwater and broken glass. Alessandra reached the small courtyard, but Lena grabbed the fur coat and yanked her backward. The two women fell against the stone fountain. Alessandra clawed at Lena's face. "You stupid maid," Lena shoved her back. "I told you," she gasped. "I remember everything." Alessandra lifted a small knife from her sleeve. Before she could swing, Matteo appeared behind her. He did not shout. He simply pressed his gun to the air beside her head and fired once into the stone wall. Alessandra froze, screaming. The knife fell. Matteo looked at Lena. "Are you hurt?" Lena shook her head. His eyes moved over her anyway. Checking. Possessive. Terrified. Furious. Alessandra laughed brokenly from the ground. "She'll hate you one day." Matteo. "Women like her always wake up and remember what you are." Matteo did not look at her. "I know what I am." His eyes stayed on Lena. "So does she?" Lena stepped closer. Rain soaked them both. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Behind them, the church glowed with firelight and shattered candles. "I know enough," Lena whispered. Matteo's voice lowered, and she reached up. This time, she touched him first. Her fingers brushed the blood at his collar. The torn fabric, the skin beneath. "And I'm still here." Matteo closed his eyes for half a second. As if those 5 words were more dangerous than any bullet fired that night. By morning, Cesare Vitali's confession was everywhere. Not leaked. Delivered. Every major newsroom received footage from St. Quer, Aurelia's church. Every judge, prosecutor, and federal investigator who had ignored Clara Carter's file received a copy of the ledgers. The hotel's statement against Lena vanished. The Grand Bellario issued a public apology so polished and terrified it sounded like a hostage note. Alessandra was arrested before sunrise at a private airfield. She wore no diamonds. For once, no one knelt for her. Lena watched the news from Matteo's penthouse, Lily asleep beside her on the couch. The city beyond the windows looked washed clean by rain. Though Lena knew better. Cities were never clean. They only learned how to shine over what they buried. Matteo stood across the room, speaking quietly to Enzo. His arm was bandaged beneath his black shirt. He had refused the hospital until Lena threatened to pour antiseptic into his espresso. He had gone after that. Now he looked impossible again. Controlled. Distant. Untouchable. Except Lena had seen him bleeding in a ruined church. She had seen his fear when she ran. She had heard his voice break around her name. That knowledge made him more dangerous. Not less. Because now she knew the monster could feel. And what he felt absolutely. Enzo left. The penthouse grew quiet. Matteo walked to the window. "You can go home today," he said. Lena's chest tightened. She had wanted those words, had fought for them. Now they felt like being pushed off a cliff. "Is it safe?" "Yes." She nodded. "Good." Neither of them moved. Lily stirred in her sleep, hugging the stuffed rabbit closer. Matteo looked at her with that guarded softness he tried to hide. "I set up a trust for her," he said. Lena turned. "No, it is done." "Matteo, her mother saved my father's life by trying. That debt belongs to my family. We are not charity." "I know." "Then don't treat us like a debt." His jaw tightened. "What do you want me to do?" Lena, nothing. The frustration in his voice surprised her. He turned from the window. "I can buy hotels, burn warehouses, bring down families. But with you, every instinct I have is wrong." Lena stood slowly. "That's not true." His eyes held hers. "I wanted to lock every door between you and danger." "I know. I wanted to kill everyone who made you afraid." "I know that too." "I still do." That should have repelled her. Instead, it sent a shiver through her, because he said it not as a threat, but as a confession. Lena walked closer, then learned the difference between protecting me and owning me. Matteo looked down at her. And if I fail, I'll tell you. A faint breath left him. Almost a laugh. Almost pain. You will. She smiled a little. Then it faded. I'm not ready to belong in your world. His expression tightened. I know. I may never be. I know that too. And I won't be hidden in some penthouse because you're afraid. His eyes darkened. I am afraid. The admission stunned her. Matteo DeLuca, who could silence rooms by standing, looked at Lena Carter like she was the only thing in the world capable of ruining him. I was not afraid when they shot through my house, he said. I was not afraid when Cesare pointed a gun at me. I was afraid when you ran into that courtyard and I thought I would watch another brave Carter woman die because of my family. Lena's eyes burned. He stepped closer, then stopped himself. Always stopping. Always fighting the urge to touch. I do not know how to love gently, he said. The words were rough, honest, almost ashamed. Lena looked at the man who had placed his coat around her in front of enemies, who had brought Lily back through smoke, who had trusted her in a church full of ghosts. No, she whispered, but you can learn honestly. His eyes searched hers. And you would teach me I didn't say that. His mouth curved slightly. There it was, the smallest crack in the darkness. Lena stepped close enough to take his bandaged hand. He looked down at their joined hands like he did not trust himself to move. You're not forgiven for everything, she said. I know, and I'm still angry. I know. And if you ever command me like property again, I'll slap you harder. This time, he almost smiled. Fair. Lena looked toward the couch where Lily slept peacefully for the first time in days. I need a life that's mine. Matteo's thumb moved once over her knuckles, then build it. And you. His gaze returned to her face. I will be outside. Her heart twisted. Outside, close enough to come, if you call. Far enough not to cage you. The answer undid her more than any declaration could have. Because it was not possession. It was restraint. For Matteo DeLuca. Restraint was devotion. 3 weeks later, Lena returned to the Grand Bellario Hotel. Not as a maid. As the woman who had bought it, Matteo had not done that for her. She had refused. Instead, Clara's documents triggered a federal compensation case. Lawsuits. Settlements. And a wave of resignation so large, the hotel's board collapsed under its own panic. Matteo's lawyers opened doors. Lena walked through them herself. The first change she made was simple. No staff member would kneel to clean anything in front of a guest again. The second change was personal. In the private dining room where Alessandra had humiliated her, Lena placed a small frame photograph of Clara Carter near the service entrance. Not in the lobby, not where rich people would pretend to care. There, where staff would see her, where invisible people entered rooms full of power. Beneath the photograph was a brass plate. Clara Carter. She saw the truth and did not look away. On opening night, the hotel hosted a charity dinner for children of domestic violence survivors. Cameras flashed. Guests whispered. Lena wore a midnight blue dress. Simple and elegant. Her hair pinned loosely at the nape of her neck. She still felt nervous in rooms like that. But she no longer felt small. Lily stood beside her in a gold cardigan, proudly telling anyone who listened that her aunt owned the chandeliers. Then the room quieted. Lena knew before she turned. Matteo DeLuca entered alone. No entourage. No dramatic announcement. Just him, in a black suit, moving through the room with the same dangerous grace that made powerful people lower their voices. He stopped in front of Lena. For a moment, neither spoke. 3 weeks had passed with distance, not absence. Flowers had arrived for Lily after her first school play. Security had appeared invisibly near Lena's apartment after a suspicious car circled twice. A handwritten note came every Sunday. Never romantic enough to pressure her. Never cold enough to let her forget. Still outside. M. Now he stood before her. No longer wearing armor made of strategy. Just a man who had learned to wait. You came. Lena said. You invited me. I invited half of Manhattan. I only cared that you invited me. Her breath caught. Around them. The room pretended not to listen. Badly. Matteo looked toward Clara's photograph. His expression changed. Quiet and grave. She should be here. Lena swallowed. She is. He nodded once. Then he looked back at Lena. I brought something. From inside his jacket. He removed the black coat. The same one. Cleaned. Pressed. Folded carefully over his arm. Lena stared at it. I thought you said it wasn't yours anymore. It isn't. He held it out. But this time, you choose whether to take it. The room blurred slightly. Lena looked at the coat. Then at him. The first time he had placed it around her shoulders, it had been a claim. This time, in front of everyone. It was a question. Lena took the coat. Not because she needed protection. Because she understood the language now, and because Matteo, for once, had let her answer. She stepped closer and placed the coat around her own shoulders. A soft wave of whispers moved through the room. Matteo's eyes darkened with something fierce and reverent. Lena lifted her chin. Don't look so proud. I am proud. Of the coat, of you. The words hit her directly in the heart. Simple. Devastating. Lily ran over then, saving Lena from tears. Mr. Matteo. Aunt Lena says I can have 2 desserts because this is a special night. Lena blinked. I said 1 dessert and fruit. Lily sighed dramatically. Fruit is not dessert. Matteo looked at Lena. Then at Lily. With the seriousness of a man negotiating peace between nations. He said, fruit is not dessert. Lily pointed at him triumphantly. Lena narrowed her eyes. Careful. DeLuca. Matteo's gaze returned to her. There was warmth there now. Still dark. Still dangerous. But real. Always. Ladder. When the dinner ended and Manhattan glittered beyond the windows, Lena stepped out onto the balcony for air. Matteo followed, stopping at a respectful distance. The city hummed below them. Rain began again. Soft this time. Silver in the lights. Lena pulled the coat tighter around her shoulders. You know, she said, the first night, I thought this coat ruined my life. Matteo stood beside her. Did it? She looked at him. At the scar near his eyebrow. At the man who had been a storm. A weapon. A wall. And somehow, against all reason. A shelter. No, she said softly. It revealed it. His eyes held hers. Lena. There was so much in the way he said her name now. Not command. Not claim. Need. Restrained by respect. She turned fully toward him. This doesn't mean I'm not afraid of your world. I know. And it doesn't mean I'm ready for everything you are. I know. But I'm not afraid of you the way I was. Matteo's face changed slowly, as if hope was unfamiliar and dangerous. Lena stepped closer. This time, he did not move first. She did. She touched his jaw, her thumb brushing the place where she had slapped him weeks ago. I'm still sorry about that, she whispered. I'm not. A small laugh escaped her. He closed his eyes at the sound, like he wanted to remember it, like he had waited his whole life to hear something gentle and did not trust it to stay. Then Lena rose onto her toes and kissed him. Matteo went completely still. For one breath, he did not touch her. Then his hand lifted to her waist, stopping there with careful restraint, as if she were something precious and terrifying. The kiss was not soft. Not exactly. It was controlled fire. A confession without surrender. A promise neither of them fully understood yet, but both felt deep enough to fear. When Lena pulled back, Matteo rested his forehead near hers, not quite touching. "You should know," he said quietly. "If you let me love you, I will do it badly before I do it well." She smiled through the ache in her chest. "Then do it truthfully." His hand tightened slightly at her waist. "I can do that." Below them, cameras flashed at the hotel entrance. Somewhere inside, Lily laughed. Clara's photograph watched over the service door. The city kept its secrets. But one of them had finally been dragged into the light. Lena Carter had entered Matteo DeLuca's world on her knees. She stood now beneath the rain, wearing his coat by choice. No longer invisible. No longer silent. No longer waiting for powerful people to decide the shape of her life. And Matteo DeLuca, the man everyone feared, looked at her like she was the first mercy he had ever been offered. Not salvation. Not weakness. A reason. The rain fell harder. Lena slid her hand into his. "Come inside," she whispered. Matteo looked down at their joined hands, then back at her. For once, he obeyed. And behind them, the balcony doors closed on the storm, leaving only the glow of chandeliers, the echo of a child's laughter, and the beginning of a love dangerous enough to change them both.